You are such a visionary in the vet space, and I don't think anything like this exists. So I'm really excited to chat more about it and to share it with pet parents all around the world because this really is for pet parents everywhere. Like, this is something they need.
Yeah, I've on and off like it exists in the human world, the concierge medical care. I do think there is a few differences between human concierge care and pets concierge care because on and off people will tell me like my doctor is a concierge doctor and that they do this and that, and it actually is a very different model because as a person you can really like advocate for yourself. You can say,
Yeah.
oh, I my energy is not great in the morning, or I wake up with a little headache, or I'm dealing with migraine, my tummy hurts. Pets don't give us those things, right? A lot of times I
Yeah.
feel like in pets care, we don't catch things until it's late when they're not eating
Mm.
or when they're not getting up in the morning, they're not going for their walks, and we really know something is wrong. Most likely, those things have been going on for a while. And in pet care space, there's a lot more we need to do in terms of prevention and testing to find those things out early just because they can't tell us. So I find our current pet care models kind of reactive. We tend to wait until
Yeah.
giving us a symptom. And to truly
Yeah.
get in front of it to be preventive, it has to be a lot more time spent even during the time where they seem like they're doing well, because those are the times where I have been catching things early and able to get in front of a disease. So that's what the whole idea of this concierge care is based on.
Yeah, and I mean it's like something I've learned from you is that like cancer prevention starts on the day you bring your puppy home. I mean, technically we could be like, I've also learned from you, it technically starts like how what was their mom's microbiome like, but you don't have so much control over that usually. But when you bring your puppy home or your kitten home, or that's actually when you start preventing this
Mhm.
future diseases. And so this idea that you've created something that's focused on preventative medicine instead of just focusing on how can we, which you're also amazing at, but how can we heal things once they've already started is
Yeah.
pretty special because it's really, I think, that meeting that need for the pet parents who are like, how can I have my pet break the Guinness World Record of the longest living cow dog? This is a big part of the answer.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of pets I've seen over the years, and I finally, I reached the part in my journey now to see such a huge difference. There's some pets that I see week after week. They may have originally came in because of an issue and they're getting acupuncture
Mm.
or ozone therapy or laser, something that's first designed to treat them for this issue that they came in with. But we get such good results that we want to make sure it doesn't happen. So over the years, I have been seeing some of these pets weekly as part of their preventive care. And then now this wellness center have been here for 4 years. So I've been doing it long enough. I start to see a pattern because before this, I worked in pretty busy conventional hospitals and emergency urgent care type settings. And I found that my previous work life, I saw mostly sick pets. You would see some wellness appointments, and those actually go by so fast. They come in, they get their vaccine, and maybe do a fecal test,
Yeah.
and they're done. Versus here, we spend so much time on the wellness appointments. We talk about diet and supplements and getting in front of things like microbiome, vitamins, minerals, and toxins, and their maintenance preventive care like acupuncture, laser, ozone. I would say the bulk of my appointments now are more wellness rather than sickness, which I love, right? Like when we all want
Yeah.
our pets to have to come in for really good wellness appointments rather than the ones that are sick. So I see such a shift in even my care model of used to be seeing a lot more sick pets to now actually very I don't want to say rarely, but a lot less common. I would say most of our appointments are to get in front of issues or to be preventive rather than keep chasing sickness issues.
Yeah.
So
And
it's been a
it's
nice
so
shift.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is absolutely powerful to take that approach. And then you've also had cases. Do you want to share any stories of you've had such amazing cases, but of like when you've also managed to pick up something early just because you're doing this like preventative testing or those, yeah,
Yeah,
you're just taking.
one pet comes to mind right away is a French bulldog called
Yeah.
Bacon. And I do have permission from Bacon's mom to share Bacon's
I know,
story.
I was hoping you tell Bacon's story.
I try to be really mindful when I'm sharing patient stories that I
Yeah.
have permission and blessing from a family. Bacon didn't have, I mean, Bacon had some skin issues. So
Okay.
that's how I started seeing Bacon. And while I was helping Bacon with skin issues, we were talking about other preventive testing just to find out if there's anything else going on. And it's our biannual wellness exam. And due to just Bacon's age, I said, hey, let's just run the heart muscle enzyme testing. It is part of my senior wellness screening now because the heart is such an important organ that even though when we go and listen to the heart on physical exam, we may not detect anything wrong, right? Bacon's running around,
Mhm.
eating, drinking, like acting fine. And when on my physical exam, I didn't find anything going on with the heart. The rhythm was fine. There's no heart murmur. Pulse is good. The gum color, circulation, like everything seemed really good. Just I wanted to be proactive because heart disease is more common when they get a little older. So we checked it, and the result was actually quite surprisingly high and very abnormal. And I was surprised because I didn't expect it. But this is why I do this type of testing. So I had a talk with Bacon's mom and said, hey, this is actually quite abnormal. Even though he's not presenting with any heart issues, let's have a look with the cardiologist. Let's ultrasound the heart and just let's make sure. And we did
Yeah.
actually end up finding a pretty serious heart disease called dilated cardiomyopathy. And it was early enough that it wasn't causing him trouble yet. But this type of heart disease almost always will progress and almost always will become pretty serious. So it was so good that we found it early before he got sick and
Mm.
got him on some treatments and management to just help him not even get to the place where he develops heart disease that's going to compromise him. So that example comes to mind right away because it honestly surprised me. And it was such a good
Yeah.
reminder to myself as well that even after being in practice for so long, I will miss things on physical exam. Like there's no way, right? That I could have diagnosed this heart disease in this dog by just listening to the heart. And it's not realistic to send every pet to a cardiologist to screen for heart
Just
disease.
check,
So
right?
just starting by that little step, it's a simple heart test that we incorporate every time we test for organs. And I'm so happy and glad that we found it early for Bacon's family. So
Yeah. I mean, that's so good for Bacon that Bacon's okay. And that's the incredible thing. That's why I just wish every pet parent knew is that, and something I didn't know originally, really, before I found you actually, was that like all this incredible stuff that exists for humans right now in terms of like healthcare, everything from ozone therapy to mistletoe therapy for cancer, from PRP injections, like all of these things that exist for humans, they exist for pets too. And that's so important for people to know that this actually exists for pets too. And you can actually give your pets this level of care, the kind of functional medicine testing you would do if you go to a functional medicine doctor and you really dive into, or a naturopath and like really dive into what's happening in your body. You can do that for your pet too. So I think that's really exciting and such a big part of the concierge membership.
Yeah, I think the preventive testing part sometimes gets really extensive. So I've been doing it long enough that I know what my ask is now. Like usually pets that are younger, I'm doing maybe every 6 months, but pets that's older than maybe 7 or 8 really should be tested every 3 months. And I know that's a lot to ask. It's just
Yeah.
that I found time and again, we forget 3 months to us may not seem that long, but our
Yeah.
pets, their lifespan is shorter. I wish it's not that way,
Yeah.
but their life is a little shorter than ours, a lot shorter. And
Yeah.
they are on this timeline that's just much faster than us. So 3 months may not seem like it's very long, but things can change as much as 3 months and certainly in 1 year. So the conventional, I think, wellness visits are annual, like once a year. A lot
Yeah.
changes for a pet in 1 year. It is such a long part of their life. If you think about it, 1 year for a pet is, for some pets, could
That's
be,
so true.
yeah, like
Like,
5%, 10% of their lifetime. And if you think
yeah.
about like we haven't done anything preventive in 5% or 10%, like let's say my life, if I am lucky enough to live to be 100, like that's 5 years, 10 years that you go without any checkup, right?
That's wild. Yeah. And not any, yeah, not necessarily even being like switching up whatever supplements you're taking to suit
Yeah.
whatever's going on with your health right now. And yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
So
a long time.
yeah, so I realized as I started to want to be a lot more preventive, I am asking our families, like, we need to come in and we need to be on top of these testing. Sometimes I detect like a vitamin deficiency, let's say
Yeah.
vitamin D being one of the most common deficiency. And vitamin D is actually a hormone, so it changes a lot of things in the body, and it can become a precursor to a lot of issues if it's not balanced. So if it was deficient and I started a supplement, if I'm not checking it, either that the supplement may not be enough to bring it to a normal level, or it is enough, it brought it up
Yeah.
to the normal level. But if I don't change anything, it might keep climbing up. And now we're in the excess level, which is not good for the body either. So there's
Mm,
a fine
yeah.
balance of supplementation. And those are the things I'm really trying to get in front of.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the amazing thing with all of this testing because it's also it's something we've spoken about so much is every pet should actually be tested for glyphosate and heavy metals. And that's something you can
Yeah.
also monitor with checking how their detox is going.
So glyphosate is such an interesting one because it's quite new to the testing. We didn't have a great way to test for it until recently. And sadly, what I found, because I do see a lot of cancer pets, is many of them have a really high level of glyphosate. What I don't know is whether the levels were high already, so they have toxins in their body, and it is part of the reason why they develop cancer, or they develop cancer because of other issues. And because of that, the detox pathway is not working as well. So they cannot get rid of toxins in the body, and the glyphosate level is high. It is only part of that toxin that we could test for. There's so many toxins that we worry about, and we cannot test for everything. But when we do know, let's say glyphosate is high, there's a chance that other toxins in the body are high. So when we detox, we're detoxing all of those things because it's a signal to us that there are toxins building up in the body. And just by detox,
Yeah.
I think it makes such a huge difference for the body. So I think what I wanted to say about that is that it can get to be a point where we're doing a lot of testing that feels quite often, because 3 months to us is, that's a lot. And I wanted to really design a kind of care model that makes it easy to keep on top of these testing and be updated and have a doctor have the eyes on the pet. I've also heard
Yeah.
from pet parents, it's a lot of times you go to the doctor, right? And the doctor would say, okay, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and here's a list of 20 things, and okay, let's see you back in 3 or 6 months. And the families walk home with this huge list of things and all the supplements that they need to keep track of and the testing. And it's just a lot because, yes, like that's not their expertise to be able to understand
Yeah.
why these things are done, how often, and then keep track of those things. So we do as much as we can to help, but I do think that to a certain extent, it's easier for a veterinary care team to be keeping track of when things are due, what's due, why it's important, prioritizing certain things. So the concierge offer was born out of that idea of instead of you having to keep track of what's going on with your pet, let us keep track of it and let's make sure
Yeah.
we're doing all the preventive testing to make sure that we're finding problems early so we can get on top of it. So it's just a easier way to deliver the kind of care that really is preventive at heart. And so we're not waiting till they get sick.
Yeah, it's like taking the admin side of pet healthcare like off your plate. Like you don't have to carry that kind of mental load and having that check-ins and reminders and having I think what's so different about it as well is it's I know we've spoken about this that if you go to a more conventional vet practice, the vets are can be so dedicated, but they just physically they don't have the time. They don't have the capacity to like actually keep track of your pet's health and to think about your pet every day and be like, wait, how's that pet doing? Are they taking their supplements? There's so many pets they're meant to see in one day, 1 week. It's nuts, and they can't like keep track of every pet at that level. So you've designed this membership in a way that you're able to give so much attention to the pets. We're starting with a pretty small group. Doors open Monday. We're starting with a pretty small group. And you're going to be giving so much attention to each of these pets. And I think what's really I've learned as well is just the actually the level of care and time and attention that it actually takes in partnership with your vet to keep your pet really thriving and healthy. It's I guess for us, sometimes maybe it's more kind of talked about in the human world where it's, yeah, as humans, we know that it actually takes a lot to keep ourselves
Yeah.
at like peak health in terms of all the things we need to stay on top of. Yeah, all of our things, our probiotics, our supplements, our exercise, like all the things. Are we drinking enough water? And it's the same for our pets. And I just don't think it's a conversation that's been happening so much yet. And you're really at the forefront of because it just hasn't been that standard yet, being like, actually, this is what it takes.
No, that's this could be a much bigger conversation because I, I do feel that one of the struggles in veterinary medicine and the current care model is this time component. I
Yeah.
think I think it has to be a match, right? I think people really need to understand that there are different types of care models. That
Yeah.
if you go to an emergency hospital, depending on what cases you're walking in, if there are five pets that are crashing and dying, they are going to get the attention that they need to save and stabilize their lives. But they are
Yeah.
not going to be able to have the kind of care where it's one doctor or a couple technicians just monitoring this pet the whole time they're there. It's just not realistic. The emergency setting
Yeah.
is designed to stabilize emergencies, not to have all eyes on everything. And that's why they would need to partner up with their primary vet so they can follow up on all the issues and make sure like episodes don't happen again or any remaining sickness or symptoms are dealt with. But even
Yeah.
in a regular, let's say, traditional hospital traditional setting, most of the time you would have to ask the question of, okay, how long are the appointments? How long can the doctor spend with my pet, and balance it out with your need, right? Because I've seen there are hospitals that the doctors are seeing pets like every 5 and 10 minutes. This is real. I've known doctors that
which
told me
is
like they
like,
see 60 pets a day. Like, how do you see 60 pets a day? And they have a
I mean, that's
right? They
hard.
have a system, but if you go to that type of care model, you have to know you're getting
Yeah.
your pet is getting 5 to 10 minutes tops.
Yeah.
And if you have, if what matches your energies that you need a lot more information, you want to have the space and time to ask why you want to be super involved in your pet's care, then you are going to have to explore a different type of model where the appointments run longer, the doctors are much more involved, we sit down and talk to you about all of those things, and the time is going to be greater, the cost is going to be more, right?
Yeah.
So there is a difference in those care models. And sometimes you put together a team where you know this is where you go for emergencies, this is where I come for primary and preventive care, and then, marry that.
Yeah.
I just think
Yeah.
that, yeah, in terms of where I am now, I can never go back to seeing so many pets in short amount of time because of all the things I will want to do for that pet. So this concierge model is a way where I know that every week I would block off a certain amount of time so that I can make
Mm.
sure that I'm looking at their care plan, that we review their lab results, we're checking in with them so that we can make sure that we are checking off all the boxes and be on top of that care as in a true partnership, because I am
Yeah.
investing my time in doing that as well. So it's, again, I think everyone needs to decide what feels good and right to you. But this really is the next level of pet care.
Yeah, it really is. If someone's listening to this, or if you're watching this on YouTube and you've never been to the wellness center, like it's a different space in the sense that you just, I know the level of time and attention every person gets and the level of like care. And it's, that's a completely different model. And I think so many pet parents are like just craving that. They're like, they want that connection. They want to be able to ask questions. And that's, yeah, I feel like everything you and I talk about so much is like, how can we create the most phenomenal, like the most phenomenal membership, the concierge membership, or just like the app is putting out there. What can we create for pet parents that's just so special and so different and really meeting them there emotionally? Because I think, is that something else we can touch on? Is just that like emotional wellness piece for the pets as well. Because it's, yeah,
Yeah, the
this is
emotional
not
part for,
your ordinary pet
yeah, for
clinic.
people and pets, because when I started, I
Yeah,
really wanted to create a healing center. The thing that I always hear over and over when people come in is that, wow, like the energy in here is so good. We really designed it so
yeah.
it feels like a house, like somebody's living room you're walking into. We don't have
You've
kids in
literally
there.
designed it like
Yeah,
it can
like,
be. It looks like a house.
yeah, I would live here. Like I designed it in a way that kind of looks like my house. And I want people to be part of everything that's going on. So we don't have an exam room and a treatment area. Like we never really say, oh, we take the pet to the back, which is like usually a treatment area.
It's like one of my favorite
Yesterday,
things is
yeah,
that you love
yesterday I just
me.
did, yeah, a new patient. And so we were just doing some blood draw with them. And then they told me they like, I've never seen this being done in front of me ever. Like, what a good
Oh,
experience to just know that, okay, one, my pet wasn't stressed. Because sometimes you think, oh, you have to take blood, like you have to poke them. But the pet was so relaxed, was just laying down and next to mom. And we took a little blood and it was fine. I think by people being there, one, is really comforting for the pet. And two, it's nice to know what's happening with your baby at all times, right? So
Of course. I mean, that's so stressful when you don't stay with them.
yeah, so I wanted to create that level of partnership and transparency and just be able to offer that. There is a huge part, I think, when pets come in and they're not stressed because they don't feel like they're in a hospital setting, they're being taken away, and then there are a bunch of other animals barking, or even if I don't know what pets feel like when they see other pets in cages, but I
Yeah.
imagine it's a little scary, right?
And
And
often like wanting, like crying or like it's
crying, whining, or maybe a pet is coming out of surgery and they're just having some reactions like right after waking up from anesthesia. So I think those are even like sensory overload, right? Just a lot
yeah.
going on, a lot of noises, a lot of people, I think could be really hard. And there's a piece for people like us, as in the veterinary care team. I wanted to put us
Yeah.
in a space where we feel that this space is healing for us as well, and that
Yeah.
we're not trying to do 10 things at a time. And also for the people that come in, that they come in and they're sitting on the couch and they're relaxed and they can be with their.
Yeah.
I think it made a huge difference because we all know that when you're stressed, your cortisol, your stress hormone rises, and that
Yeah.
actually depresses the immune system and causes inflammation. And most diseases are caused by inflammation. There's a
So
huge
you're coming
component.
in and getting
Yeah,
more.
like if you're already stressed, your pet's stressed, it's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I mean, if you go on like our Instagram, you'll see these videos of you can literally, and I just think this is it's so magical and honestly should be the standard everywhere. But like pets having like IVs and their pet parents sitting next to them the whole time on the couch. Like they just hanging out on the couch together and their pet's getting their IV for
yeah.
whatever, whether it's a cancer pet or whatever they need it for.
Yeah, that part has been that part has been so magical as well. Because again, in most critical care setting or even in pets that need to just stay for a couple hours on IV, most of the time they're like in everywhere else, they're in a cage, right? Like maybe
Yeah.
next to other
Yeah.
animals that might be like barking or whining or doing other things, and they're sensory also, they're seeing all these other pets that are coming in for treatments. And I
Yeah.
just, for the things that we're doing, because most of the time we're doing IV therapy, fluid or even vitamin C therapy, I need them to be relaxed for the pet to get the healing, true healing out of this modality. So they get to go into a little room with a bed and their mom and dad could be there, and it just feels, I think it feels a lot more relaxing and healing. I love
Oh yeah.
that. I think that's so
Yeah.
anytime we're trying to make them feel better. Yeah.
I think that's, and it's something that's so, it makes so much sense when you say it, but it's just not, it just hasn't been the norm yet. But that's hopefully, that's the direction that you're
I'm
pioneering. And
hoping to start a movement because
yeah, you've asked, I am
I
able.
the, there is the realist component of it, right? To design a system like this, you do have to trade in the economics of time. Like I am not going to be able to do more than two IV
Yeah,
therapy at a time because I have two little rooms and we
yeah,
have nurses and technicians that can monitor and make sure that we're giving them all the care that we need. So it isn't going to work, say, in an emergency setting where you do have to see all the pets that are working in being stabilized for those life
yeah.
threatening situations. But for true healing, right? Like after we get them through the emergency, let's get them to a place where they can truly heal. I think it's so important. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think there is even a place for, even in more critical settings, to set up an environment where they don't have to be stressed and their family could be with them. There are actually some models that
I
are
think so
going to
too.
come up for that level of
Oh,
transparency.
really?
Really,
Even in
yeah, yeah,
even
an
if you,
open concept VR.
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That is so cool.
yeah. So that exists. So I'm super excited. And I'm actually going to be talking with a doctor that works in an open concept VR very soon. So we will
That's
talk
awesome.
more about that. So I'm happy to see that it is an idea that our profession is embracing and pet parents have that choice. I do think it's so
Yeah.
important that it is a partnership between the veterinary care team and the families, because that's truly what's going to make the pets feel better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's also the thing about the concierge membership, right? Is like it's you're the vet that if someone were to join the concierge membership, you're the vet that they're going to see all the time. Like
Yeah.
there's that continuity, there's that partnership, that relationship. Like the pets that I know you see pretty frequently, you know them so well. You know everything about this pet. It's like it's that level of relationship with them. I'm trying to think of like an example, like school with the teacher. If it's a teacher who's like the main teacher for the class, I went to a Waldorf primary school, so we had the same teacher for 7 years, so like every day, and I'm like, the level that that teacher knows those kids is, it's a different level of interaction, and I've seen like we've had conversations where you shared this pet so well that you are picking up little like nuances. And I mean, in the podcast with Deborah, right? Like, even with Sophie, you were just coming for acupuncture with her every week, but you can pick up those little shifts. You're like, actually, we need to test something here. We need to, and that's like invaluable, especially when it's something serious that you end up picking up. That
Yeah,
can
when
be
I
really
see
interesting.
them more often, like I can feel that when there's a shift in their energy or they're not feeling
Yeah.
well, or if the lymph nodes is a little bit bigger than normal, sometimes those things get missed in between. If I only see them once every 6 months, it may happen like they are already having small issues that they're not really exhibiting any symptoms at home yet. But having that relationship of being able to checking on them often and feeling their body and talking to the families, we've been able to pick up so many early issues because of that relationship. So that is so important. And that level of care and the familiarity, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these pets that I see all the time, they're like my pets. Okay.
Yeah.
And I
Like,
care for them pretty much the same level I would care for my own pets. So I want to do that. I like that.
yeah, I think that's amazing. And something else I want to like just bring up, but just for you to talk on, is there's this idea, just for anyone who's listening, who's, oh my gosh, where are you? First, you're in Rolling Hills Estate, LA. But for someone who's, but I don't live super nearby, or maybe they live in another part of the world, they're like in Greece or Italy or they're somewhere else. What could the concierge membership look like for them if they join? What kind of, yeah, how would that maybe look for them if they were like, I need Dr. Lily. I live so far away, but I need Dr. Lily.
I know in I would say last year, 2024, it really expanded my own horizon and got me out of my own sort of limitation about where I think I could be helpful, because I started getting emails and questions from pet parents really all over the world because of the therapy that we're offering and doing that's really not available in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
And part of this is that I want to start helping people understand what they could do, right? There are a lot of things that people could start doing at home, even if I'm not seeing them personally, working with just diet and supplements and understanding things like microbiome and why toxin exposure could be an issue, understanding like minerals. There are things and ways of different things that you could test for, even if you're not right next to me. Or the other way we're exploring this is being able to give you the information as much as possible and then have those families work with their vets. I am also working with the vets directly to design what's right for that pet. It does take the right veterinary care team to be super aligned. But what
Yeah.
we could do is that because this type of model really is based on an ongoing relationship, right? So we would talk about probably every week what's going on with your pet, what you're doing, and then actually like helping you, given the information and the resources you have to see what you could do and questions you could ask. Because a lot of times, if you maybe go to a veterinary hospital, you may be given a lot of information. And then after you get home, it's hard to process all of those things. So
Yeah.
I've helped a lot of pet parents that are not seeing me in person, but just being able to look through their medical records, what's going on with their pet, and just explain to them, like, okay, what the doctor is trying to do, these are the options, these are the pros and cons, and helping them arrive at a good decisions that make sense for them and their pets as well. And that we're really trying to also design ways where we could help them do a lot more integrative and holistic modalities at home, things like ozone therapy, right? I think
That is so, I mean, I'm so excited about that. You can literally have an ozone kit shipped to you and Lily can teach you how to do ozone on your own pet over Zoom.
yeah, ozone therapy has been life changing for my practice. I've literally had like medications and drugs sit on my shelf and expire since I introduced ozone therapy. So it's one of those things that it can be super powerful. And the best thing is that it does not require like really fancy equipment. And there is training that we would need to do and just making sure that your pet's the right candidate, you're doing it the right way. But things like that, we can't help you. And if you don't have, say, like you don't have access to an acupuncturist, there are also ways where we can teach you like, oh, massage at like acupressure points. There are also now technology where it's not needle acupuncture. You don't have to know exactly where the point is, but you can use a certain wavelength of light and be able to activate that acupuncture point. So there are a lot of things that I wish I could empower people to do more at home in support of their traditional veterinary care. So it doesn't replace it. I think everybody still needs to have a primary
Yeah,
veterinarian
someone
that they
doing
can,
exams and
yeah, that they can see all the time. But whether it's a partnership of me and the family or a partnership with me and their vet, I think we can go a step beyond the traditional care and just complement that primary care team to help with the more holistic part of healthcare. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then what you were talking about with the light is that like nano acupuncture machine, right? That you can literally get home and have guidance from you on how to use it on the pet if it's the right pet for that.
Yeah. And I think before that I use laser. You can also use laser to activate certain points, and there are
Oh, right.
versions of at-home laser. And laser is such a powerful modality in terms of being able to relieve pain and inflammation. It just, I think most people don't know about true lasers. Most of the time, when people come to me and say, "Oh, I have a laser at home," and when I look at it, it's usually either just a red light or an LED light, which is not quite the same thing.
Actually
So,
therapeutic.
yeah, so it's like talking through those options and like being able to filter through like the noises in the world, because a lot of things are marketed, be like, this is good for pet and you should buy
Yeah.
this and this will help to resolve arthritis and all these things. And but the thing is that one is they're not all the same, and sometimes the
Yeah.
market isn't quite what the thing is designed to do. And it may not be the right
Yeah.
thing for your pet, right? Like sometimes like,
Yeah.
you can see like hundreds of different supplements that are all supposed to be good. But what does
Mm.
your actually need. That's an entirely different conversation depending on what your pet is dealing with, and it will change over time. Those
Yeah.
are conversations that really need to be had on an ongoing basis to keep a pet healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many places, some places in the world won't get the same level quality of like supplements or herbs or probiotics that you have. And for a lot of places, I think you can ship them. So that's it's
Yeah, or
possible
at
to
least be
send
able
stuff
to
to
decipher
people.
which ones are good. And yeah, and I am excited about just creating this community of people who are really passionate about this work.
Right?
Because for example, I also connected with the essential oil vet, Dr. Janet Work, who's also doing incredible things in the world. And I took her training and got certified in animal aromatherapy. And that's something like she has this course like everybody could take, right? And
Yeah.
there's things like essential oil, like everyone should have access to this. And those are things you could do at home. And you may need a
I
little bit
love
of guidance
that.
on what to use, how to use, but that's just one example of being able to do something at home that can help your pet. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of things we do here now, it'd be great if I can see them in person, but a lot of the things pet parents can do at home. So I think there's a huge part of just being able to help people understand a little bit more about this total health concept and preventive health and how to get in front of
Yeah.
issues before they occur.
It's so exciting. It's really exciting. And I was thinking like, oh my gosh, we need that vet to come and do a master class because that's the other cool thing is like just bringing all these cool people to come do master classes for the concierge members and come, yeah, meet with them. And you just get all these resources. It's this little community where you get to just learn from the best people and get access to the leading edge stuff, like really see what's out there for your pet. And yeah, do you want to mention something about a little bit? Sorry, no, go ahead. I feel like you had.
Oh, yeah, no, a thought popped into my head and then it
Yes,
left because I'm like focused on
I
being present
know.
with you.
I know. Okay, let me know if it comes back.
Like, hey, yeah, no, I had a thought in my head. I think it's around like preventive care. I just have seen such a shift when it really doesn't have to be complicated. I think that was my thought when I
Yeah,
was talking is that we think we make it out to be a lot of our talks of what we talk about, oh, you have to come in every week for a physical exam and then you have to do all these testing.
yeah,
We do this because we have unfortunately now have bred generations of pets that are one just born with poor microbiome and immune system. And then they are living in a world that's actually really toxic. So part of being healthy, now we have to undo and reprogram a lot of this. And that is why these testing all become important. But true healing comes from just having a very functional and healthy immune system and body. And it could just start with a very healthy microbiome. I think that there are a lot of things
yeah,
that we can be empowered to do at home. Just paying attention to your food sources, your water sources, the
yeah,
and just knowing the environment and lifestyle, exercise, like stress, like all those components that just need to be a part of like daily life and habit. Just by doing that, I always say that the most healthy pets are the ones that are just like they're just happy, they're loved, and they have a great lifestyle. And you usually don't see them getting sick very often. So I guess
yeah,
the only other thought that popped into my head is like, actually, it doesn't have to feel like you have to do all these things because these are things that, if that's just part of your life, you, yourself, and your pet could be so healthy.
yeah.
It's just building up maybe those master classes and training. to help us understand, okay, I mean, water is such a big thing. Most of our
I
water
was
source
literally
is so
going to be like, oh my gosh,
contaminated,
I feel like that's a whole podcast episode of give your pet high quality water. It's
right? Like
like,
how many times do we think about like what kind of water? And when I initially talked to pet parents, a lot of times they don't even know. And I didn't even know a couple years ago about water. And now I know, oh, I can look it up and I can see what are the contaminants. I can select the right filter, the right water. The water is like almost 70 or 80% of the body, like it's made out of fluid, and
uh,
not putting in contaminated water is such a huge part of health. So it's those very basic building blocks that I want to start building into like the master classes or the training or talking with the families to make sure that we got this layer covered. And
yeah.
that's basically the thing that's going to move the needle and start changing this pattern of every generation of pets getting sicker. That's the sad trend that we're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's something I've really learned from working with you. And I just have these light bulb moments so often of like, oh my gosh, if we could just have this mindset shift, it's like a culture globally, if we could have this mindset shift and understand what is good for our bodies, like what we understand for our bodies, like human beings need to eat fresh food, human beings need good quality water, like the basic things like that. And it's just the same for the pets, but we've been so conditioned to think of pets not in that way. Just and it's not something anyone could it should feel bad about it. Oh, if they're listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, but I'm not doing any of this. Don't feel bad. We've been conditioned as a society to be like, oh, it doesn't really matter what water. And it's fine if your pet gets the same kibble every day. And it's like all these kinds of things. It's just that conditioning and learning, like, the moment you say these things, it's like, oh my gosh, of course. Of course, they're meant to have good water. Of course, they need fresh food. Of course, they need to get outdoors. Like,
Yeah, of course, like sunlight. Yeah. That
yeah,
just like sunlight, fresh air, like enrichment, like things that make the mind healthy, right? So I think, yeah, the other trend I'm seeing is pets are just in general getting more stressed and anxious. Yeah,
yeah.
they just I think it's pretty multifactorial, but I do see a trend that people and pets are getting more stressed and anxious. So there's probably a correlation. So
Yeah. Yeah.
how do we get in front of it? That's a huge mindset shift as well.
Yeah, and just like to circle back to microbiome for a second, like an incredibly cool thing about the membership and the way it's been built as well, because there's 3 tiers, which you'll see if you look at the page, which we'll make public on Monday. But there's 3 tiers. But like for if you look at so silver, gold, and diamond, before silver, your first test, you get your microbiome test completely free. Gold, you have one, I think, every 3 months. Diamond, you have like unlimited microbiome tests. So it's like all these things are like built in that it also just becomes easier in terms of like it's managed by, you're reminded by the wellness center, and also like it's all together, it's less of a cost as well, and you just get to take care of all those pieces more, and so
Yeah,
it's
these
overwhelming.
are
It's
the
like
things
done
I feel
for you.
like it's like culmination of everything that I've learned of what actually moves the needle in terms of health is microbiome is my
Yeah.
heart of everything, because that piece is so important for everything else. The vitamins, the minerals, the toxins, those would actually get better when the microbiome is healthy, because a lot of times those things have been deficient because the microbiome is not healthy. So it can't actually absorb the nutrients properly, or it can't detox. So I just wanted a
Yeah.
very easy way for people to start doing these things. So microbiome is at the heart of every concierge level. Everyone, I need every pet to at least have a microbiome test, and so we understand what's going on. And then from there,
Yeah.
you really want to take the stress out of thinking about which testing are due, how often, the cost of it, and just build it all in so that you don't have to worry about those things as much, and let us keep track of that for you. So I think it's a very exciting time in my chapter to be able to offer that.
It's so exciting. It's so cool. I'm very excited for the pet parents who are going to join this and get to experience it. And it's different. It's very different to anything else out there right now. And yeah, it's going to be really good. And I'm aware that we need to hop on a call in like a few minutes. So yeah, I wanted to mention the time.
Yeah, this is the first iteration, and it's been on my mind for so long. I'm so glad it's finally getting out there in the world. I am super excited to see where it's going and how we can get this out there to help more pets. So yeah, I if you have any questions about it, feel free to send us a message. It will be a very small, intimate group to start with, because again, part of this is being able to have enough time for each pet. So it is going to be a very limited spot. However, we are going to make sure that if it is something you're interested in, just let us know, get on the wait list, because we will
Yeah.
be able to, as we work on this model, find that balance where hopefully the people that want it can all have a spot, and they're ideally more doctors doing this, and we can set up the systems and the support that can make this something that's the best thing for everybody. So
Yeah, and if you do want to get on the wait list, just go into the little caption on the podcast and or the YouTube video and just click the link and go sign up for the wait list.
yeah, we'll put it on our website soon, and yeah, it's ready to
Yeah.
meet the world, and I'm super excited.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me on here and letting me chat to you about this.
Yeah, how fun. Thank you for helping me bring this idea to life. And let's see where this goes. I am so grateful that this came to life, and I am really looking forward to seeing the next chapter.